said to him, he wrote me an email and said, because of you, my daughter wants to become a scientist now. She saw you on television, and now she only speaks about aliens. 2 days later, I speak with a reporter from the London Times, and he puts out his report and says, I read the report for half an hour to my kids, and they told me they want to become scientists. And, this is another thing that there are two things that are missed by my colleagues. One, it's an opportunity to excite the kids to get into science. That's an amazing... when we discovered the Higgs boson, it was an important confirmation of an idea that came in the 60s. The Nobel Prize was awarded, but I bet you that the daughter, Ariana, the daughter of the US Air Force pilot, would not be inspired to become a scientist because it's very abstract. Here, there is a connection. So that's one thing that is missed. And of course, the second one is, here is a subject that the public cares about, and the public funds science, so we should attend to that.
Of course.
It's our obligation as scientists.
Of course.
I always, since I started science, which was by chance, by the way, I wanted always to become a philosopher, but circumstances led me, because I led a project that was funded by the Star Wars initiative of President Reagan. It was the first international project. And then that brought me into astrophysics, because I was offered a position at Princeton, the Institute for Advanced Study, where Einstein was a faculty a few decades earlier. So it was an arranged marriage, but I felt that it's even though it's an arranged marriage, I'm married to my true love, because I can address philosophical questions using the scientific method, and I recognize things that my colleagues do not, because I'm different. I'm just. But
you're willing to take chances.
It's not just that.
Not even chances. You're willing to propose things that might be ridiculed.
Well, I think about the big picture. The one thing that I mentioned in my book, Extraterrestrial, is on the first day of school, I showed up to the class and I saw the kids jumping up and down on the tables in the classroom. And I looked at them and I said, does it really make sense to jump up and down? Like, what are they trying to accomplish by doing that? And then the teacher came in and looked at everyone jumping and said, quiet down, look at Avi. He's so well behaved. You should all behave like him. And I wanted to tell her, I'm not well behaved. This was not the reason why I didn't jump up and down. I was just trying to figure out why they are jumping up and down. And if it made sense, I would jump up and down. I don't care about your rules. And that pretty much defines me. I'm thinking about the big picture. And if my colleagues are doing something that doesn't make sense, I don't give a damn.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Once the understanding of the composition of 3I Atlas, once that was out and people recognized that this is a very unusual object, have more people started to consider what you're saying?
Yeah, I get a lot of people sending me...
In the academic world?
Also in the academic world.
Yeah.
Those are people that say, we are inspired by what you're doing, They keep sending me emails saying, keep doing it. It's an inspiration to all of us.
But this is privately. Has anybody publicly supported you?
So the young people, you have to understand the biggest damage of this harassment or scrutiny or ridicule or personal attacks. I don't care about it. My skin is by now titanium. I don't really feel much. The issue is really that and that's the purpose of these attacks, is they want to discourage young people from deviating from the beaten path. Right. So they keep the herd in a tight configuration. And the risk from that is, one suggestion that was very popular when I started astrophysics, half a century ago. By the way, I lived throughout half of modern physics, roughly. Half of modern physics. So half a century ago, it was thought that there is a symmetry of nature called supersymmetry, and that the dark matter is the lightest particle associated with that symmetry because it's stable. Right. And everyone said that must be right. And lots of castles were built on this foundation, including string theory, that was assuming this to be true. And then the Large Hadron Collider at CERN was built for $10 billion, searched for supersymmetry and didn't find it. Now, what is the lesson? Yes, it was a beautiful idea. And sometimes nature is not what we think it is, okay? So we should not ridicule ideas that are different than what the mainstream is doing because the mainstream makes mistakes. This was, a lot of money and effort went to that. There are thousands of papers basing their analysis or mathematical constructions on supersymmetry.
And a lot of people are unwilling to abandon that as well, right?
Yeah, but the point is, if you allow people to follow not just the beaten path, but other paths, you have a better chance of discovering something new.
Right.
Because we cannot... Einstein made, 3 mistakes between 1935 and 1940. He said black holes probably do not exist. He said gravitational waves probably do not exist. And he said quantum mechanics doesn't have spooky action at a distance. And all 3 received Nobel Prizes for the teams that proved him wrong. Those are Nobel Prizes from the past decade. 3 teams, doing different types of experiments and observations. But did Einstein was wrong to assume, to make assumptions or claims that turned out to be wrong? No, because that's the nature of working at the frontier. You make mistakes. Every now and then, you might be right, and that will be a breakthrough. But you cannot have breakthroughs without taking risks. And it's really, the whole idea of tenure in academia was based on the proposition that you want people to take risks so that they don't have job insecurity. They don't worry about their... So what these zealots, I call them, say is, we don't want people to deviate from the beaten path because we base our stature, we base our honors, awards, and so forth on past knowledge. We don't want new knowledge unless it's proven beyond any doubt. But how would it be proven if you keep ridiculing anything different? Most of the scientific community thought that rocks cannot fall from the sky. And then in 1803, there was a meteor shower in Liège, and Bayot, a French physicist, realized it's real. There are rocks falling from the sky. Now, all my colleagues say there could be only rocks in the sky. We know that we launched some spacecraft, but, we're probably alone. And it doesn't make sense. But let me just mention a few other anecdotes from the past week, because I didn't really finish. So, Jamie, can you show the next one?
What is it?
This one is about Sphere in Las Vegas. As you know, it's the most impressive venue for entertainment in the world.
Have you been there? Have you seen a show there?
I'll tell you. Not only I've been to the top of the Sphere, which is like 120 meters high. Here you see me from inside the Sphere. This is the exosphere, by the way. It's covered with LED displays. We went all the way to the top. Why? Because a year ago, 2 very distinguished visitors came to the front door of my home. By the way, lots of interesting people show up at my front door. This was Jim Dolan, who owns the Madison Square Garden, as you know, and also the Sphere. And Jane Rosenthal, the CEO of Tribeca Enterprises. And they made me an offer that I cannot refuse. And they said, would you be able to put a Galileo Project observatory? I'm leading the Galileo Project to look for unusual objects around the Earth. And they said, could you build an observatory on top of the Sphere? Because, Jim Dolan really is interested in science, and especially in finding, whether there is some alien intelligence out there. And I said, of course, I will be delighted. So that was September 2024, 1 year after the Sphere was opened with a U2 concert, as you may know. I don't know if you've been there.
Yeah, I've been there for the UFC.
Yeah, UFC, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway,